Welcome back to Flipping Dust. Today we're going to be making a tutorial on how to install a toilet paper holder. This is a standard holder. It has the two prongs that stand out from the wall, and it has a spring-loaded bar that goes through the center of the toilet paper roll. So I'm going to give you a shot and explain a few different tools that we're going to be using, and we're going to get to work. When you unbox your toilet paper holder, you're going to see you have the main components right here, but you do need to have a few tools. Now, I pulled out the instructions. Let me show you what they look like here. It gives you an example of the different types of tools that you're going to be needing for this project. And I have a few extra tools out here on the paper that I'm going to go over with you. So here we have the electric drill. We have a drill bit. Now this drill bit is the 3/16 inch drill bit. Now that's because we're going to be putting an anchor in the wall. You can also use, as the instructions show here, a 1/16 inch. Now that's if you're going to bypass the anchor that goes into the drywall. Let's say you're going to be just drilling straight into a stud that's in the wall. You're going to want to use a smaller drill bit because you don't need that anchor. You're just going to put the screw right into that stud. Over here we have a small level. We have scissors, hammer, stud finder, mechanical pencil, flathead screwdriver, Phillips screwdriver, painter's tape, obviously the toilet paper holder, and we have a utility knife. Now I'm going to show you a trick that is not in this instruction booklet. Okay, so here's the trick that I was talking about. Nowhere in these instructions does it say how to position your toilet paper holder. And what I found is the most useful way to figure out where you want to put this toilet paper holder is, first of all, most people are right-handed. And it's just natural that they're going to use their right hand to take the toilet paper off of that toilet paper roll. So what I do is I sit down on the toilet so I get a good idea as to where my hand is naturally going to go. As you see, I have a pencil right here. So I'm sitting here on the toilet. My hand naturally goes right here. Now, someone might be bigger than me, they might be smaller than me, but this is the general area where I know that paper toilet holder is going to go. So I'm just going to make a mark right here. And that's how you naturally figure out where it should go. I've seen homes where the toilet paper holder is up here, I've seen it where it's down here, and it just doesn't make sense. It's not ergonomically feasible. So you just want to put your hand where it naturally rests, happens to be right here, make a mark on the wall. That's going to be our target area for the center of that spring-loaded bar. So that's going to be this portion right here. Now that we figured out where we want to position this toilet paper holder, another thing that's not mentioned in the instructions is finding out if there are studs in the wall. Now the instructions do address what type of drill bit to use in order to drill into either a hollow space in the drywall or in a place where there's a stud behind the drywall. But they don't mention, you actually have to find out, is there a stud in this area where you want to install the holder. So I'm using this one here. It's set to deep scan. Just going to turn it on, slowly pull it across here. Now, all right, there's a stud right there. We're going to keep moving. No studs over here. Just going to check, make sure that that stud actually exists and that we're not hitting something unexpected in the wall. Now you can see this time as I'm passing over it, the stud finder isn't finding anything. So we're going to try it one more time. All right, it found that stud again. So sometimes these are not so accurate. It's good to do a few different passes with a stud finder just to make sure that you know what's going on behind that wall. Just for good measure, we're going to do it one more time. Now because there's a stud in the wall, and I'm not really sure where it is, there could be some pipes in the wall, That's what the stud finder is picking up, or maybe there's some sort of box frame that's behind this wall. We're just going to move that center dot a little bit over this way so that we avoid running into any sort of structure that's behind this drywall. So if I take my pencil and I now make the new target hole right around here, I'm going to erase this one. I'm going to do another pass over here. You know, there is a stud. We seem to be safe. Okay, so this is going to be the target center now for that toilet paper holder. Okay, so here's another tip. When you buy these types of products in a big box store, the companies that manufacture these components will include instructions that apply to a few different types of items that they sell. So this shows you how to measure for the toilet paper holder, but it also explains how to measure out for a towel bar or something else. Now, since we're only going to be using this small portion, what really makes sense is to cut. You see, this is a template. So what you want to do is cut this paper. Otherwise, it's unnecessarily unwieldy. So you just want to cut that paper. Otherwise, you're just trying to Mickey Mouse around with all this extra paper when you're holding the template up to the wall. You don't have to do that. So I don't know why the instructions don't give that tip, but I always like to just trim down the paper as much as possible so that I can put it up to the wall and my eyes will naturally understand where this paper holder is going. So again, I'm just going to clip this off as well. Don't need it. Okay, so now we're down to this piece of paper. We don't have to have that whole massive sheet going up against the wall. So now that we have our little template, I'm going to take the painter's tape. Now again, I'm using a delicate painter's tape because I don't want to rip the fresh paint off the wall. Now if you're working in a bathroom where the paint has been on the wall for years, it doesn't really matter so much if you're using a stronger painter's tape or even a little bit of masking tape. What I like to do is just take a little bit of tape, and I'm going to do 4 different pieces, one for each corner. You can just rip this with your hands. You don't have to be perfectly precise with scissors. All right, so we have our 4 pieces of tape. And again, we don't have to be entirely precise. I know approximately where I want the center to be. And I'm just going to eyeball it and place it just like that. And I'm going to lightly put the tape on the wall. The reason is I just want this to be a placeholder. I want to make sure that what we're doing is level, okay? So I have my little level over here, and I'm going to place it right on the line. And if you look, you can see that the bubble in the level is over here. So that tells me that this portion is higher. So I'm just going to readjust this paper. I'm going to pull it down a little bit. And there we have it. Okay, so now it's level. So I'm going to put this part down. And now what I want to do, because we're using a template, they put the holes exactly where they want you to drill. So I'm going to take this part off the wall very gently and pull it pretty tight, so it lays nice and flat. And I'm going to put that tape back down on the wall. We're going to use our level again just to make sure that everything looks the way it should. And there you have it. Okay, so that's really good. So now that this is level, we're going to turn the camera off. I'm going to grab the right tools for this, and we'll continue with our work. So here's another tip that's not included in the instructions. The instructions really imply that someone is going to drill straight through this template into the wall. So through these 4 different holes. Now the problem with that is when you're drilling, sometimes you can rip this paper, and then lining everything back up is quite a chore. So what I like to do is mark these holes. Just take my Phillips head screwdriver and push it into the center of these holes. And what I'm doing is I'm making an indentation in the wall. So if this paper falls off or if it moves, I still know exactly where those holes are. Okay, so now that we've done that, we're going to take our drill and we're going to just drill through like that, like that. 2 more holes to drill. Go in the background, you're going to hear some of the guys doing work in another room. Okay, now we have made our holes. The template has done its job, so now we're going to take that off of the wall. You can see the holes that are left. And as you can see, the dot that we made as far as our center mark is pretty much right in the middle. I'm going to erase that. Okay. All right, the next step is we're going to put the anchors into the wall. And here's what the anchor looks like. And it's going to fit into the hole that we drilled, but it's going to be very snug. Now, in the instructions, they say to take a hammer and just hammer this straight into the wall. Now, I don't like to do that because sometimes you can miss with a hammer, and we don't want to punch holes in the wall. So if you remember earlier in the video, I had this screwdriver out. The reason is I'm going to use the butt of this screwdriver and hold it right here. And I'm going to use the hammer and hammer it into place. So it's much easier for me to control the bottom of this screwdriver. It's easier for me to control that against the front part of this anchor than it is for me to use the hammer. So we're going to repeat that process with all of these. You can use your hands to push it in most of the way, but then you just want to snug it up by tapping it with the hammer. Now that one is a little bit too tight, so I'm going to take my drill and I'm going to open up that hole just the slightest bit. Just going to put it in here, kind of wiggle it around. Run it back and forth a little. I'm going to open up that hole. And now the anchor slides in. In fact, we don't have to hammer it. We're going to take our last anchor, push it in, take our screwdriver and the hammer, tap it into place. Next, we need to put the brackets on the wall. And you want to make sure that you put the bracket on in the correct direction, meaning there's a lip here that should protrude from the wall. You don't want this portion to be flush against the wall, that would be reversed. So you want to take it and put it right here. Okay, so we have that one in place. I'm going to do the same thing with the second bracket. Now this is when the Phillips head screwdriver comes into play. So you have a screwdriver like this. I'm going to use an electric drill with a Phillips head bit attached to it. Okay, so you just want to check, make sure that those are nice and snug, which they are. Now we need to position the brackets. And these brackets are tightened with a little screw underneath, and you want that screw to be at the bottom. And that will help you to determine which bracket goes where. So this one will go here, and this one will go here. Now the way it comes from the factory, these screws are tightened in, and I need to drop that little head of the screw down so it can fit underneath the bracket. I'm gonna have to do the same thing with this one. Now in the package, they give this little Allen wrench. So we're just gonna open this up. Or not open it so much as we're gonna unscrew it so it fits. See how that head dropped down? Now it fits right there onto the bracket. I'm going to do the same thing with the other post holder. And there you go. Now before tightening everything up, it's good to take your holder here. Just make sure that everything lines up correctly. And it does, so that's great. Okay, so now we can take it off of the wall and work on each post individually. I'll put this one over here. And this can be a little bit tedious. You don't want to scratch up the walls. So I'm going to actually turn the camera off so I have more space to work, but just know that I'm using this Allen wrench and I'm turning it in a clockwise motion to tighten up the screw that's underneath this post. Okay, so now these are nice and snug against the wall. I'm going to take this center bar, the spring-loaded center bar, and pop it right here into place. And there you have it. Your toilet paper holder is nicely installed. If you have any questions about this video, please leave a message in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you'd like to see more tutorials, click the subscribe, like, and notification symbols. We are working hard to make informative videos and show you behind the scenes of our day-to-day activity flipping houses. Thank you so much for watching Flipping Dust. Happy home improvements, and see you soon.